So here's an update when it comes to Avalanche. Did you know that AVAX, which is Avalanche's native token, according to Solana Daily, has recently been live on Solana? So imagine that, right? AVAX is now live on Solana. What does this even mean? Now, if I take a look at this post right here, they say how when it comes to AVAX, it's now basically accessible within the Solana ecosystem through something called Sunrise. And that right there is something that's focused on DeFi. So I find it to be pretty cool. So basically, now individuals can interact with AVAX through popular Solana apps, like for instance, Phantom and all this. Again, there's a bunch, but I'm just saying, I think it's pretty cool. Now, nothing I say, again, is financial advice. This is just my personal perspective, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But at the same time, isn't this pretty awesome? This gives, basically more exposure when it comes to Avalanche, which I don't think is a bad thing because people like to say, oh, isn't Solana supposed to be a competitor when it comes to Avalanche? Well, in a sense, I guess, yeah, because Solana's a layer one blockchain, so is Avalanche, right? So naturally, of course, they're basically trying to compete. Solana is more popular than Avalanche. I mean, that's the way you take a look at it. Am I a fan of Avalanche? Yeah, but it doesn't change how Solana is more popular. So if it could maybe have assistance through that, right? Not directly, but it's just kind of a figure of speech in a way where the way you take a look at it, if AVAX is, in a sense, having more exposure through, again, now being live on Solana, why is that a bad thing? So yeah, I think this is actually pretty cool at the end of the day. I mean, people sometimes don't, I think, find this to be the most interesting of all time, and I tend to agree with that, but I still think it's pretty cool nonetheless, considering, I guess, how popular Solana is, and now AVAX, again, being live on Solana. I think that is pretty cool, at least in my mind. However, at the same time as well, people like to tell me, well, this didn't do much to the price of AVAX. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's still below $10, so it's not like it's done that much ever since my last video when it comes to Avalanche, in which case I talked about, the second Avalanche ETF on NASDAQ. So that was a pretty cool update. But now this is a different update, right? AVAX is now live on Solana. However, besides that point though, when I take a look at AVAX being below $10, it's not necessarily such a concern for me. The only way it would be concern is if my intent was to exit. But sometimes the way you take a look at it is this. If let's say I buy this t-shirt, right? Which is a t-shirt I got from Uniqlo, by the way. But I'm just saying, when I got this shirt right here, and because I use it and all this type of stuff, is there any way I could ever sell it one day more than what I paid for it? There's basically no way, because sometimes the way you take a look at it is if it's not a collector's item and if I didn't become a rock star or a celebrity, how am I ever going to be able to get more than what I got for it, right? I mean, there's just no way. Sometimes the depreciation is locked in. That's the way you take a look at it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, though, right? Even though this, by the way, I just want to clarify, is the Uniqlo Airism oversized t-shirt, but besides that point, if I take a look at this space overall, sometimes the depreciation isn't necessarily locked in. Like for instance, again, this t-shirt, the depreciation's locked in pretty much for me. But when it comes to this space, sure, things can maybe have a pullback, but sometimes things can maybe move in the opposite direction. It's like, for instance, Bitcoin not too long ago was below 60 grand, right? Now it's around 70 grand. Was the around 60 grand point forever? Was it locked in? Arguably, I would say no. I mean, we saw a hypothetical small recovery, right? The only way that quote unquote depreciation would be locked in is if I were to exit. Then I basically realized all of it. In which case, I mean, I could leave. That's the way I view it. I mean, it's not a requirement for me to believe in this space. I'm doing it voluntarily, but at the same time, do I want to lock in all of that depreciation? Sometimes I don't want to. So that's why I'm still holding. Now, I am trying to bring the average down by dollar cost averaging once a month, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But at the same time, I don't even need an altcoin season at this point to be hypothetically happy, just because things have had such a pullback. It's to the point that many projects out there are down around 5 times lower or around 8 times lower than where they were just around a year ago, which is pretty fascinating for me to see, but that seems to hypothetically be the case. Even if I take a look at AVAX, it's below $10, right? back in December 2024, it was around $52. For simplicity's sake, let's just imagine it's $50, right? Like, we're around 5 times lower than that. I mean, do I even need a hypothetical altcoin season at this point? Just because AVAX pullback has been that extensive? If it could just go back to around $50, then the answer is no. I don't even need a hypothetical altcoin season because I'd already be pretty like happy anyways if it did that. And I don't think December of 2024 was an altcoin season. Now, an altcoin season, of course, I'd be pretty happy. Or should I say very happy, right? But I don't necessarily need that to happen in order to achieve happiness personally in my mind, because when I take a look at it, had AVAX only had a pullback to like $30 or $40 or whatever, let's say it just held up a lot better, then the journey back to $50, then that's so boring in my opinion. At that point, it's like, yeah, whatever. But just because we're on 5 times lower than that, the journey back to that would be pretty interesting to me just because of how much AVAX has had a pullback. So if anything, yeah, sure, the pullback has been pretty extensive, but the way you take a look at it is there's a different side to this in a sense where, okay, I could view it at face value where I see the pullback, which again doesn't sound like a good thing. But if I take a look at it on the flip side, if my intent is to dollar cost average and it could just go back to maybe its previous level, which was around 5 times higher than right now, I'm already going to Sizzler at that point, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But that's contingent on maybe even if AVAX could go back to around $50. We'll wait and see. But I don't think it was an altcoin season when I saw that slightly over a year ago. So if the sentiment just went back to that point, again, I have no complaints, but this is just my perspective. Of course, we've seen like AVAX reach far higher than $50. I mean, if we take a look at it, for instance, its all-time high was almost $150. So again, it was like almost 3 times more than what we saw in terms of price around December 2024, in which case we saw around $50, but again, the all-time high was almost $150, right? So it's not like December of 2024 was anywhere close to its all-time high, but yet still, we're so far removed from even just December 2024. So if let's say December 2024 was around 3 times lower than its all-time high, right? But then as of right now, we're around 5 times lower than December 2024. So basically what that showcases is that approximately we're around 15 times lower than AVAX's all-time high as of right now, which I find to be pretty fascinating. Again, that's how much AVAX has had a pullback. But that's not necessarily such a bad thing for me because my intent is to dollar cost average. So if I could dollar cost average at a lower point, yeah, I'm not going to complain. But this is just my mindset as of right now. I mean, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my outlook. However, I just found it to be pretty cool because, of course, Avalanche, I feel like it's actually better right now than before because let's just imagine, right? 2 Avalanche ETFs on NASDAQ. Isn't that pretty impressive? I think, if anything, this is way cooler than what I saw back in 2021 regarding things surrounding Avalanche, right? But actually, as of right now, the price is way lower than before, around 15 times lower, but I feel like Avalanche fundamentally improved ever since then. So if let's say I see a project that I'm a fan of anyways, but I feel like it improved, yet the hypothetical charts are low, then why would I complain when it comes to dollar cost averaging? It's like me complaining at Costco because there's a discount. Would I do that? Even though it has nothing to do with this. But the answer is no, I'm not going to complain. And if anything, if let's say I wanted to buy a bicycle, but I feel like the features improved, yet the discount is more, am I going to complain? The answer is no. So why would I complain here? That's kind of my mindset, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I'm still waiting. I'm still holding. I'm just dollar cost averaging once a month, but that's all I'm doing, even though I don't have to do it, but I'm voluntarily choosing to do so. So yeah, that's pretty much about it for today's video. I just wanted to make this quick update when it comes to Avalanche and seeing AVAX go live on Solana. I did find that to be a pretty cool thing. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.